Jordan open.
I got 2 twin Glocks strapped to my hip. One for the ops, one for the dip. Got the drip on me, and she take a sip. Doing shit you never see, like a dream of crib. Got a shorty in the club, going dumb. Pour another drink from the night till the wine. Party all night, getting lit till the sun. Doing shit for fun, throw another one. Ay, I got 2 twin Glocks strapped.
What's up, guys? It's Will Bullock from DreamsNotFamePodcast. This is kind of weird for me, guys, because we're in a different studio. I'm with my boy Jules from LED Studios. I got my man Rob with me over here, too. This whole setup is crazy, so I'm kind of like taking it all in, man. But thanks, Rob. Thanks for being here today with me, man. It's been great. It's been a pleasure. But the first thing first on the Dreams Not Fame podcast we always go through is how's your mental today, bro?
Pretty good.
Nice, man.
I feel pretty solid.
Nice.
I'm finally like off my neck injury and like everything else, and I'm kind of like getting back in the gym and mostly injury free with the exception of the recent shoulder thing.
Mostly injury free, as jiu-jitsu people will say. Mostly.
Never completely, but definitely mostly.
Mostly, band-aids, all that stuff. I get it, man. I get it. But we're here today because we got a special event next week.
Yes.
Your first league with American Jiu Jitsu League. Super fights with blue belts, purple belts, and a black belt super fight match as well. But the one thing we're going to get before we get in those matches, man, why now for this league?
So I've told a lot of people about this, and you know this from being like a actual competitor, especially like nationally, is that jiu-jitsu, unlike mixed martial arts or a lot of other sports, you dedicate a long time of your life to perfecting being good at this art, right? And on average, it takes people like 10 years to get your black belt.
Yes.
You can do this sport for 10 years and compete in everything, and a lot of people never really make $1. And I started having this kind of disparity with the fact that, like, if you or I want to go compete, we're going to pay anywhere between like $100 and $150 in order to have to go somewhere. And I'm going to get like 2 or 3 matches, and someone's going to give me this dingy medal and a T-shirt, and they're going to like slap me on the ass and tell me have a nice day. And it's kind of like, okay, but like, what is that really worth? And then if you want to make a career out of this, the only people that are making any kind of money to make a career is like the people all the way at the very top. And they're making tons of money.
Who's number one?
Yeah.
The major ones that flow grappling.
Yeah, ADCC, stuff like that. And it's like, so there's no middle ground for people to break out and start becoming professional athletes in a sport that a lot of people, especially now that younger kids are getting into it, are dedicating their entire young adult lives to. And I thought that was kind of like, okay, maybe there's a gap here. Like maybe we can try some stuff out. And so that's what prompted me with some conversations with some friends to be like, I'm going to start an organization and I'm going to put some money into this thing. We're going to find the most competitive guys we can find around Virginia. And we're just going to put them in the same room. And so that's basically what we did. I went out. I had my money. I got some really great sponsors that are all coming to the event. We got a great venue. And we just decided, like, we're not going to charge anybody to compete. We're just going to handpick these dudes. Whoever wins the bracket is going to get cash. We got cool belts and stuff like that. We got a lot of other people who sponsor jiu-jitsu athletes that are coming as well, and vendors and stuff like that. So I'm just hoping to, like, put money back into the community of people that are competing so that they can continue to develop their professional career.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think Virginia is one of those rich areas. The DMV area is very rich with wrestlers, jiu-jitsu people, especially from my side, things from Lord Irvin down to Leo Dollar and all the big brother guys on our side. Richmond's have been very growing since, I think, for the last 5 years with Mongrel, BJJ. Some other guys out there. I'm sorry I don't remember y'all name. I'm so sorry about that, but I mostly work with y'all. And MMA Institute guys out that way. Virginia really needed this because there's only really 2 that I've seen in Virginia. Because I've been traveling. I've done RJCC1 in Maryland. I did Sogi in New York, which was a blast. But nothing really in Virginia. There was Copa, Virginia, that did a big one last April. Shout out to those guys. I know they're going to probably do another one soon. But there was really nothing else. The only thing we had to go to was North Carolina, Maryland, New York, out west, Florida. You were talking about that too. So it's kind of interesting seeing that we're finally kind of getting that. Even though it's small steps, we're kind of getting those steps towards, like, we want something that we can sponsor ourselves and have those ourselves.
Yeah, and it's hard, man, because, I mean, like we've talked about it. There's stuff like Toro Cup and, like, other shows that do all this stuff, but they've, like, it's like 30, 40 matches. It takes like 9-10 hours to do stuff, and it's the same thing as like competing at like a local tournament. Like, I don't know if, I mean, super fights are cool.
Yes.
But you only get one match, and unless it's like with somebody that is definitively really good, it's kind of not really worth it to me. And then local tournaments are kind of the same way. Like, the odds of you and I at our skill level being in the same tournament anywhere in Virginia is super low.
Yes.
So every time I show up, that's the only reason I did the last tournament I did was because there ended up being a black belt. And obviously there was like a huge weight disparity, but that guy ended up agreeing to fight me. And that was the first time that I've been able to compete with like a pretty competent opponent in like a really long time. And it just gets like more and more complicated the better that you get to find anyone to do anything. And so now it's like you got to go to all these other states, try to get on these other shows and apply to these other people that, and not to knock them, but are selling pay-per-view and getting sponsors and doing all this stuff that are running 10, 20, 30 people that are not giving anything back to the actual competitors. And that's where I saw like my biggest issue is like, I don't think it's their intention, but I view it as like you're profiting off of a ton of people's work without putting anything back into the athletes.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. And that's not just a lot of these guys. Everybody got to make their chicken. I understand that. So, like, the money makes the world go around. I completely understand that as a competitor. Completely understand your viewpoint of, like, hey, give it back to the have these sponsors these athletes to pay for these fees, like the $150 fees for these local tournaments, even the traveling fees at most. That's what most guys want. That's all I want. I just want someone to pay for travel. I pay for the fee to do a $200, $300 tournament. It's going to be a payout. But as long as my travel's paid for, I'll be good to go because I'm taking the risk of paying maybe upwards $600 for travel money spending. For one
like
tournament.
If you try to do Pans or Worlds or anything like that, you go to Vegas or Florida.
That's a whole band. So it's like you don't really get you're doing all this for one thing. Now I can understand Worlds, I can understand Pans, I can understand that for IBJJF, but I'm kind of indifferent with the whole local versus super fights. I've only been doing super fights because that's the only people I can get to fight me. Most of the time I'm at these local tournaments is one guy. I'm not gonna pay $110. Just to fight
and that's
one
the
guy.
worst part. It's like it's a waste of money.
It's a waste of money. It's no knock on them, but no one wants to do the local. Everyone's like either, and again, this is where we're talking about high level jiu-jitsu of purple, brown, black.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do those because a lot of people are now moving towards, hey, I just want to be on super fight card, where everyone's like trying to get on these opportunities, but there's so little opportunities in these fields because you got to know a guy to know a guy.
Yeah, it's too much supply and like not enough demand. And then you start getting into like the politicking of
politics.
Who's going to let who on what show and who's going to get to fight who? Are they going to set you up?
Man, politics is something that in jiu-jitsu is so funny to me. And I'm not going to name no names, but with certain leagues, let me just say that, certain leagues that we both been affected by, and some of our friends have been affected by this certain league, because I don't want nobody to come at me in a certain way, because I don't know how petty one can be with knowledge. But my main thing with that is just like, when you politic and you don't even know the whole situation, or you politic and you didn't make something right, it's on you and the owner in the situation to kind of make it right.
I agree.
It's kind of on you and the owner to understand that jiu-jitsu is not a place where it's Bloods and Crips, but it's becoming more like Bloods and Crips. And it's so funny.
It's pretty polarizing, especially like, and maybe this is like the MMA side of me that like doesn't get it, but it's like, it's really like in the shadows behind the back, kind of like backstabby. And I'm like, we can fight. Like, you don't have to go behind my back and like do all this stuff. Like, we can absolutely like fight.
Or give me a reason, or give me an understanding. My biggest thing as a competitor is just give me an understanding of the situation. If it's something that I did, let me know, because I'm a man or woman in the situation. You should own up to what you need to do, what you should
No, and
be
the
doing.
worst part is if like somebody corrects something that happened as their own fault, and then like apologizes to you, but that doesn't, like, unless you publicly say something, which none of them ever will, that doesn't overturn the damage you've done to this person's reputation or this person as a professional athlete.
No.
Like if something happened where this person should have won, but they didn't because you had a bad ref, and then you came up afterwards multiple times and said, hey, I'm really sorry, we messed up, blah, 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 blah. But you don't say that to the rest of the organization or your viewers or anything.
Get the rematch.
Yeah, or even get the rematch. Or you just ignore their messages for the next 4 or 5 months. Like you're directly affecting someone's professional career by your inability to have a backbone.
Yeah. And with these owners now, I understand the money coming in, which is going to get into the sponsorship side. I really would like to see from your point of view about the sponsorship, and then we're going to probably cut into all these matches, all these styles, and all this stuff, so forth. It's just the politicking of jiu-jitsu is kind of getting crazy. But with sponsorships, and especially with a lot of these people, a lot of these jiu-jitsu people now are getting 40K, 50K. Shout out to Maya, I just saw that, of followers. You think you're not gonna get a little bite off of that? You're not gonna get a little,
That's what I mean.
rub? Like you don't understand. Like it's a scratch back world, and jiu-jitsu. Like, hey, I'm gonna help you out. I help you out.
No, for sure. I mean, people like who's the chick? Maya's friends with Seneca, the female African American brown belt.
Yes, I've seen her.
She's got like 50, 60,000 followers too. It's like if 2 of those girls come and compete for your organization, that is 100,000 people, whether they're cross-pollinated or not, right? But if they're blasting your stuff on social media and you're like on the up and up, or you have less followers than them or whatever, like you're getting their whole audience view.
Yes.
In exchange for what? Like one match?
Because people get paid by views. People get paid by seeing your ads. People get paid for what you want to do. And not only that, you're influencing other people to go for those tournaments, for those leagues. And then, of course, everybody's going to say, man, you're just hating because you didn't get on it, stuff like that. No, I'm getting on. Everybody's getting on cards. Matter of fact, everyone's getting on cards.
Everybody is. But it depends on what cards you're getting on.
It depends on what cards you're getting on. Because everybody wants the juice. Everybody want to be on Flow Grappling. Everybody want to be on Who's Number One. You're going to have to start small to get big, but a lot of people don't understand.
You've either got to beat everybody or you got to know somebody.
You got to beat everybody and know somebody. And in this game, in jiu-jitsu game, it's really you got to just beat everybody. If you can't do it, if you don't know anybody, you got to beat everybody.
Yes.
And that's how you get respect on your name. Now let's switch gears real quick because we went deep dive on that. But no, how do you get sponsors for tournaments and stuff like this? 'Cause I always wonder how people approach them with this idea.
For the tournaments?
As
an individual or as an organization?
As an organization, as your organization.
Okay, I'm trying to think. So it's kind of multifaceted. So in this instance, right, like I've owned businesses.
Yep.
I'm friends with a lot of business owners.
Yep.
And then a lot of people that do jiu-jitsu are also business owners. It's like a disproportionately high statistic of middle-aged to older-age people that do jiu-jitsu and usually own businesses.
Yep.
So a lot of it is like it's part of the strategizing of the card too. And I know this goes into what we were just previously talking about too, is you're picking these people kind of based on the draw and their authenticity in their gyms that people will want to see them. And so for businesses, right, there's a lot of way it helps. It with marketing, with tax write-offs, with stuff like that. I'm not going to say who or whatever, but there are people who have sponsored this show that have already directly made much more than they spent sponsoring it, like off of the association and communication with basically other sponsors.
Gotcha.
They've already done business now.
Gotcha.
So that's already whatever. And that's part of the purpose is like you get exposure. If you have an HVAC company or lawn care or whatever, and you spend $600 getting your name put on something, but you're local, and this is a local event and a local super fight show, and there's 150 people. If you even get like one recurring client out of that, you'll make your money back really easily. If you get 2, 3, 4, or 5, or you do business dealings and you do sales or something like that, you know what I mean? You'll make your money back. So for us, I didn't want to ask a lot of people because I really just wanted to make sure that we could make it happen. And I'm not really looking to make a buck off anything. Like, I just want to continue to have the event and continue to put money back in people's pockets. So we shot like the bar pretty low. almost all of our sponsors are competitors.
Nice.
So they're all just the older, more like hobbyist crowd, but they're good people, and they're good people that have businesses, and they did it like out of the kindness of their heart, and they were just like, I pitched them the idea. I told people flat out like the same thing I said about why I wanted to do this, and I was like, I think the community and these people deserve opportunities to do this stuff, and if it benefits you in a way, which is part of like how you sales pitch it to people, is you got to give people something back. They want. It's a business opportunity. It is a marketing venture. It is all this stuff that potentially benefits them in a much more superior way than it benefits you. But you're also giving them access to an audience that they definitely previously did not have access to.
That's facts. Because I remember, for example, like with those kind of audiences and stuff like that, especially in jiu-jitsu gyms, you can find a police officer, you can find government agencies, you can find help in these schools, and they can also sponsor back. They want to get back because they understand the game.
Oh yeah,
most of these sponsors understand the game. It's kind of funny how I think one of the random sponsors, sometimes CBD stores or products sponsor these events because they know most of the time BJJ artists are going for that. So I always find it very interesting how sponsors get involved. I always know it's like local gyms, and you use your network. A lot of the stuff in BJJ is about network.
100%. So like one of the prime examples is Brian Neves from Mongrel is a blue belt there. Really good blue belt. I think he's like in his late 30s. He also owns like a sports massage therapy business.
I think I saw him on the day that we were rolling.
He's the bald dude.
Yeah, I think I rolled with him. Yeah.
Really good dude. But I mean, he's built the foundation of his practice off of specifically working with athletes. And then cultivating his skill set around like how to make that better for those athletes, and he's done phenomenal. And he's one of the sponsors for the show. And I mean, like that's a direct exposure to someone whose business correlates with this, and it'll benefit him and us and everybody else to be able to have access to somebody that understands your injuries and your like compensations and stuff a lot better. Like to continue to train and not have, tear your LCL and do all the other crazy stuff.
Are most of these sponsors, and we're going to move into more, the competitors in a second, are most of these sponsors, you say they're going to be there, are they going to be setting up tables to showcase their products and so forth like that as well?
Some of them, the ones that can, will be.
Gotcha.
So Black Triangle Group, which is the primary one who's helping me pretty much like we just brainstormed the show out of thin air at one point. He trains actively, competes when he can, but he's going to be setting up his vendor booth and everything else there. It also makes, again, like government agency, really weird tools. If you're into like weird clandestine
weird bumps in the night.
like knives you can get through TSA and like all kinds of weird stuff. Yeah, he's got pretty much every tool for the job. So
you always got to know a guy. Back to these competitors. Now, it's very interesting to see blue belts get their shine. And a lot of these things. Sometimes they get mostly singles matches. They don't get normally this bracket style. So why did you decide to add that to the card? On top of that, why these 4 athletes?
So it's always the theology, right, that like everybody wants more matches.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes.
So if I come in and I do like my one super fight and I have like a 30-second match, whether I win or lose, it's like, did I really do jiu-jitsu or did I get lucky? Like, what do I get out of this? Like I'd rather have a 5-6 minute dogged out match where I really got to use my skill to do something than have like this quick little thing. And so I was like, I want more people, I guess, to cross-pollinate. And, of course, you obviously have, like, the local gym inter-rivalry kind of thing. So it made more sense to take these guys. And we initially were going to do more than 4 people per bracket, but I thought it might get a little dicey with making sure that people committed, showed up, blah, 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 blah. And then the time frame, I don't want it to be, like, a super long thing. I want it to just kind of blast through it and get it done. And
4 is a good starting point.
And these 4 guys are really good, and they're all from like pretty much the primary gyms around here.
I know knowing the gym names is hard because I can barely get through anybody.
So there's Garrett Chandler, who is from Phoenix Martial Arts or Fitness. I think it's martial arts. and his father is the black belt owner and coach.
Nice.
That's there. He's super athletic. He has a really high pedigree of wrestling, and ironically, also a really strong leg lock game. I've seen some pretty vicious photos of him around people's feet. And they're pretty good. They're like on the other side of town from all of us, but he's come over and cross-trained with us a couple times, and I know that like the skill level of blue belts can be very varying.
Yes.
You can be like really like, are you really a blue belt? And you can be Nicky Rod and win, you know, an 80cc. So it's like you get to see a lot of the pool when you go out and like meet all these people and do all this stuff. And he was really, really cool. So I wanted to get him involved so I could pull more people from different gyms in as best that we could.
Yeah.
Darion from Boa BJJ over in Mechanicsville, Ashland area is probably like the single most active competitor in Virginia.
Is that the guy with the mustache?
The black dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I remember. Yeah. I was like, I got a brother. Yeah. But,
he's in there, man. He's like, not only he blows me away, man. We rolled the other night, and it's like he gets so good so fast. You can coach him and teach him something, and he will take that knowledge and adjust himself and compensate and replicate it almost flawlessly within a very short amount of time. And he knows everything. He can wrestle. He's good at, you know, staying above the waist. He's good at leg locks. Like, he's good at escaping. He does not get tired. And he has a lot, like, experience too means the world in combat anything. And he has so much, like, so much so that he literally doesn't even tell his coaches that he's going to compete, and will just show up like on Instagram with like a bunch of medals almost every weekend. He'll like jump out on like family events and leave and just go compete instead.
They have that life, because I can't do that no more.
Yeah.
I have a feeling. I saw his stuff. I haven't seen his work as of late because I haven't been at any locals, but I've heard about him mostly.
He's really good. I like him a lot. He's actually somebody that pushes me pretty regularly because he constantly changes. Yeah. So it's not one of those people where you like get used to their style in the gym. Like he is going to evolve, and you're going to have to adapt to that. So if you stay like asymmetrical, you will fail at some point with him. Bryce from MMA Institute is
he's one of your guys. Yep.
He's great, man. I love Bryce as a person. He always makes me smile, and he is vicious at leg locks. He has gotten so good. I know that he's been watching like a lot of the instructionals. I know he recently did the Gordon Ryan one, and that was very evident to me yesterday. Yeah, last night when we rolled, it was like completely different. He feels much stronger. His pressure is a lot better, and his leg locks, like his ability to have like critical thinking skills that match the speed at which he needs to replicate it. Is very, very good. I mean, they're all like such impressive blue belts. The only person I don't know anything about really is Daniel Ventura, who is from Black Triangle Group's gym down in Virginia Beach. He came really well recommended, and I talked to the gym and everything else, and he is apparently like the most athletic, most physical person that side of the water.
That side of the Tidewater area, baby.
And so I knew that you know, Black Triangle was coming up here and everything else, and I wanted to make sure that I kind of got some representation from a couple other cities too. Like, not just, I don't want it to be like just Richmond, because then it becomes like this weird like exclusivity thing, and I don't want people to feel off put by the fact that I walled off the city for the event. I kind of wanted, and that's why you're here too. And
I'm the only representative of Northern Virginia, so the golf clap for that. But yeah, I definitely understand that.
But you know, I want people to understand, like, I want it to be a Virginia thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, as we expand and do more stuff and bring people from outside Virginia into Virginia, like, you people from Virginia better not lose. That's all I'm saying.
No, like I think that every part of Virginia is different. I think Northern Virginia is aggressive. I think we're more of the top heavy. Down south, I think everyone's getting the leg lock wave. and the wrestler
100%.
weight. South and the north south.
You've got a lot of the
What-
really good traditional people here
Yeah.
too. I mean, besides
We're very
Leodala
traditional up here. The south and the west are wrestler base, and then southeast is mostly like a mix. 'Cause I know is one of those guys Bispo guy, or am I confusing someone else?
in the advanced one.
Yeah, no, not in advance or one of them. I thought one of those guys were from Bispo, but I must be wrong.
No, I tried to get somebody from there, but I couldn't get him to.
But those guys, because that's guy, I don't know him personally, but I know he's a little bit traditional, but he does a lot of gi manipulation. Because I have
And the
Jaquan-
gi guys up here are ridiculous.
Oh yeah, all we do is it's very weird in this part of Virginia where our no gi game is not on par with most of the Virginia, but our gi game can wipe out most people.
Oh, yeah.
No disrespect, but it's just like it's very traditional up
man.
here.
I mean, you have like Admar Barbosa up here.
Bosa,
That dude is.
Kelly, Professor Kelly on Koa, Leodala, my professor, the OG of it all, basically.
Yeah.
Christian Barnhart at Vanguard, who's mostly known for his no-gi, but he's vicious in the gi too.
And that's the person
And then,
like being in a really populated city like
yeah.
this too. Is you get all these people that are so good that just stay here.
It's like Richmond, but it's like it's different. So Richmond, because I stayed in Richmond for about 4 years when my wife went down there. Beautiful city, love the city, but I know mostly was near downtown Short Pump. That was the two areas I was mostly at.
Yeah.
Because I was off of West Broad, which is I think about 20 minutes from Mongrel,
Yeah.
and then I was on Short Pump most of the time because all the other stuff. But in dexterity, I'll never understand the north, south, east, west of Richmond. I just never understood it. Never understood it.
I still don't get it.
But it's like everything in Richmond takes 40 minutes, which is normally everything out here takes about 40 minutes from me now. If we were back in Manassas, everything would be about 20 minutes away from me.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I mean, like that's kind of.
Except for my home
I basically
gym.
like live on a farm. Like
You live in the sticks.
Yeah, like I'm not anywhere close to anything. So for me, it's like if I want to get to civilization, it's like 25 minutes. And then it's like at least 15, 20 minutes to whatever side
You want to go
town I
on.
want to get to like do anything.
That you live in the sticks. That's just different to me. But
Yeah, like this is weird. Like being back up in a city like this, I'm like,
everything's so clean.
there's
You're like,
walls everywhere.
nah, I get it. The advanced division, my division,
Your division.
got some interesting characters in that division.
There are some dogs in there, man.
It's when I was talking to you about this, and the guys gonna see this when it come up. I was intrigued by the different styles, just because as a competitor, you don't want to go through the same guy twice, or the same type of guy twice. You want to go wrestler. You want to go wrestler, something else. You want to keep on your toes, and each one of these guys, including myself, have unique skills. I know one of them had pull out because he got his knee injury. Greg, shout out to you. Hope you have a good recovery. Congrats on the black belt. But the guys in that division is sick. What I personally have a personal favorite about which guy that I would like to see, but I probably won't see him until the second round. But who are you most interested in seeing in that division?
It's hard to like pick a favorite. I know who's facing who first and all that kind of stuff. And
Do you want to announce who's facing who first? On
No.
there? All right.
that's gonna stay a secret.
Gotcha.
I'm really excited for the people that know Justice Johnson.
Yes.
I'm really excited to see.
I'm intrigued
him
by
step
I'm
up to the
intrigued
plate.
by him.
He's still blue belt for
Yes.
people that don't know,
He's the only blue belt in the advance.
but he won the Paris Open. He took second at Worlds this year.
Past year, I think second, yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's phenomenal, and it's not like he's grossly strong or anything. I mean he's when you
Tall.
see him, he's like 6'5", 6'6", but he's got a really unique style. He's really good everywhere, and there's not like an ounce of quitting that dude. And watching him like step up to the plate time and time again and like outperform what should be his level and win is like really, really cool. I'm really looking forward to watching him compete. The guy that replaced Greg, I'm also very excited. This is actually, I feel kind of bad because I don't know if you know this yet, but I think like everyone is maybe close to like a foot taller than you now.
Yeah,
Not that you're short, but these guys are all like really tall.
I'm 5'9", 5'10" on a good day. Justice, the reason why I was intrigued by him because like I'm facing a giraffe. I faced tall guys. I never faced a giraffe before.
Yeah,
I was very intrigued by that.
So Jeff Dudding, who is replacing Greg, is basically same build, same stature.
From your gym.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely different game, white dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only difference. And he's got, like, in the gi, it is the single worst experience of my life.
Yes.
It is, like, the most unpassable guard.
The limbs of seven hands, man.
Dude, like, my brain cells cannot fire on all cylinders fast enough to, like, get anywhere on him. And he's really taken a shine to no-gi recently, which I'm, like, super excited about. And I want him to do really, really well because he has been studying and studying and studying.
He's a puzzle that I'm interested in solving. It's a very, I'm never afraid from height because I'm never the biggest guy in the gym. I'm probably biggest in the weight wise.
It's interesting when you have that size disparity too because like the way that leverages and everything works makes the moves work completely differently.
Yep. And that's why I'm like tall guys. I'm like there's certain things I'm like. I can do better than tall guys. But there's certain things I don't want these guys in, which is like my back when they do back. Like back triangle is like probably both of those guys' best moves. Yeah. Most likely. Because they have the legs that can just wrap around my body and I'm going to be stuck there for a while. Not saying that I suck in that position. I'm just saying that I already know what to expect from a tall guy.
There's like a disproportionate advantage or disadvantage to certain positions based on having a size difference.
Yes. You got to be... It's like being a backpack, but be a frustrating backpack for that person. It's just you're going to deal with it regardless. So it's like dealing with those two in height, and Justice and Jeff, the two J's, and then we got the MMA guy for the third guy.
Yeah, Tim Daly. Mm-hmm. Tim is same thing, grossly tall.
How tall is Tim?
He might actually be the tallest out of all of them. Honestly, it's really weird that it worked out the way that it did. But they're all, like, huge.
Damn.
Tim is definitely, I think, the largest in terms of weight and size of the three. But polar opposite game from the two of them. He is very wrestling heavy and definitely, like, much more MMA-style jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And he's, like... just a brick wall, man. Like, I hate rolling with Tim. I really hate rolling with all of y'all. It's, like, way too much effort.
No, it's how you deal with weight. Because you're about 190, right? Or 185?
I'm probably closer to 200, yeah.
200? Okay. Being at 215, and I'm not natural at 215. I walk around, if I really wanted to eat like I want to, I can walk around 235, no problem.
Yeah.
And that's just because it's just I've always been big my entire life. I just know how to slim it down. Because even when you hit me up, I was already 225. Actually, you hit me up while I was in Boston. I was actually doing a binger in Boston when you hit me up. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm down. I'm already chugging like my third beer and some stuff.
I'll make it.
Yeah, I'll make it. I'll make weight. Ain't no problem. I was like, February? I just don't have cake. I'll cut out sweets. I'll be fine. And I got down, got my weight. But being at 210, 215 is comfortable. Because you're going to deal with guys. And I deal with a guy, Troy, that's like this. Troy's a freaking lengthy son of a gun. He's really one of those guys that just, he gives you fits with his length, but he fights the MMA style fight with his length.
Yeah.
So, all right, I know how to deal with that. But it's just like certain things with length, it can be an advantage and disadvantage. And it's a disadvantage in certain areas. But
I mean, I tried to, when you came down and rolled with me, it was like, it was the opposite of what I'm used to with them, obviously, because they're all tall and I'm a pretty strong dude. So I can get over on people that are not comparable in strength with me. I mean, you are.
Yeah.
And you're also a little bit like smaller and more compact than I am. And it was just like, man. I was in your half guard for like 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, I definitely do that. Jeff was I only roll with you and Jeff. I haven't rolled with Justice. I haven't rolled with Tim. The rolling with Jeff part, that was definitely one of those things where I was really trying to figure out the entire time because I didn't know what style he was playing. He's very, like, the way the style that comes out, and don't be alarmed if you're talking about everybody else, this is dropping like Saturday. Everybody's going to be rolling by the time this is going to be coming out. But when everything being done with size is different. Like with you, it was like I know I'm looking for explosiveness, so I know I have to pause people just a little bit, because when people are automatically like, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go, that's where it brings frustration. Mm-hmm. So when you get frustration on somebody,
you gotta wait them out.
You gotta weigh them out. You gotta understand where you can play. It's not playing possum, even stalling. Because I believe in stalling when you're in like side control and mount and you're not even doing nothing to progress your submission from there. From half guard, it's all about being strategic, because it's a very counter move. It's a very offensive move. It's not one of those moves where it's one thing or the other. It's everything. It starts from that position.
Yeah.
And most in that position. So you learn how to deal with it.
Half guard specifically too is like, it's super 50-50.
Yes.
Like you can both win and lose right there in a second.
Yes, and it all depends on where your size, what your size is, how you measure up, and certain things like that. Like with Jeff, with me and the way he was rolling, my biggest thing was for him was, I know I'm used to people jumping over or used to people doing a big step over. He just had to move his leg because he's just that tall. Like, I just got to move my ankle here, and it's already beat. So it's like, all right, there's certain things I keep on reiterating that you have to over and over and over again understand how the size dexterity matters. Because I'm pretty sure I'm probably the widest of the group. Yeah. Everybody's taller than me, so I know immediately it's like I got to put them at this.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I know too, because I've rolled with all of you before. Mm-hmm. You're like a lot stronger.
Oh, and it's not
which will make a difference to some degree, like technique aside. Like, there is the whole theology of strength. Like, it makes a pretty significant difference.
It makes a significant difference, but I don't try to use strength. I use strength in certain moments. Yeah. I don't use strength like I'm going to just run through all this stuff. Especially ADC style, ADC matches. You got 10 minutes. The first 5 minutes don't even count points. So it's like you have time to create. So you don't have to like charge at it. This would be different. We're doing IBJJF or IBJJF time matches of 7 minutes or 8 minutes. It's a lot different when you have 10 and you don't have points count for the first 5. Then that comes a strategy of, do you want to beat down this guy first? Do you want to just try to execute first and get there first? Do you want to wait it out to the first 5 minutes? It's so many options you have that people can do.
And that's something I'm finding out, like, as I've gotten better too, and you get to like a higher level, is that like when it was like 5-minute matches, man, like that's not long enough.
No, it's not.
You can't beat people in like 5 or 6 minutes.
No,
when people are good, like you have to take 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes before you're gonna get anywhere.
You have to take at least 3. I always tell people this. You have to at least take 2-3 minutes in that count stand up. Most of the time, not no gi, but mostly in gi, a lot of people just stay in that position.
Yeah.
Especially in gi, I've gotten this a lot. A lot of people like to pull guard, and I don't know why. Especially on me, I'm like, why? Like with jiu-jitsu and scouting in jiu-jitsu, we can actually go into this more about scouting. Because you have to scout your opponents. Everywhere you go, you scout, right?
You should.
You should scout, right? But it's funny to me that how many people in jiu-jitsu do not scout. Like, we're talking about styles, we're talking about matchups, which is the juice of jiu-jitsu. But a lot of people don't understand that this is what we do. This is what we love. Like, if you cannot tell style, if you cannot tell what's the advantage, what's the disadvantage, that's the whole thing about scouting. So when I find out that people like to pull guard on me, I'm like, do you not know, not who I am, because I'm like, I'm going to show you who the fuck I am real quick. Yeah. But do you not know what you've seen through tape? So how do you see scouting as?
So it's actually a really good point. Is my first super fight I ever had was on Toro. And I had this guy, Justin, from North Carolina, and knew nothing about him, couldn't find him on social media. Like,
that's the worst
by
part,
anybody in jiu-jitsu.
when you can't find someone on social.
And I was like,
I
was like, all right, like, we'll figure it out. So then we looked him up on IBJJF through Flow Grappling, and I found his matches. And I was like, cool. And it was a gi match. So this was before I really dove into like accepting the fact that I'm a no gi person and I'm better at it, and I just got to stay in my lane. And he's like all these other guys, like 6'8", and pulls guard, did like lasso and spider and whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I have Jeff, as a personal resource already. And then I've got really great coaches who understand that game as well. And so like that whole 4 or 5 weeks that I spent training, I didn't do anything other than how to defeat people pulling guard and doing spider and lasso. And the moment that guy sat down and pulled guard, there was not a chance at any point in the times that he got close to recovering his guard or anything that like I just blew past it. There was nothing to do. And I think that's the point, is because like if I didn't do that, I did not have enough exposure to that specific thing. So in like a linear, like individual super fight way, if you're not scouting your opponent, you're just wrong, 100%. If you're going into, like, this is obviously a small tournament setting and it's a lot of local people, it's pretty easy for you to find out that you can show up to their open mats if you really want to. Like,
if you really want to.
If you
really want smoke.
Yeah.
If you really want smoke, I would have loved it. I would have loved it.
You could have started that pod. You could have just shown up on Saturday and just fought like half of them.
Yeah.
They were all in the same place.
Honestly, if one of them actually showed up, that would have been dope, though.
Yeah, that would have been tight.
Honestly, that would have been like, all right, you want to see what the smoke is.
Yeah.
I can respect that more than actually having a
But
super
but
fight.
you'll know.
But you'll know. You'll say, hey, man, I just want work.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to see what it is.
When you go to like big ones, though, I mean, I've never scouted for a big tournament. Part of it is just like I don't really care.
I have. I told you about my Sogi story. So
Yeah.
So I faced Pat Shahgholi. For those that don't know who Pat is, he's a 16, 17-year-old wonder kid from Long Island, New York. Dope kid. Met him. Great guy. A lot of people won't say that, but honestly, when I met him, he was actually a dope dude. Everything he does is theatrical through like all the gore and rind of it all, I would say. But
it's also a kid.
But it's also
which I think
kid.
a lot of people forget.
It's also a kid. So I'm like, he a kid. He's just trying to be a nuisance. His nickname's Adult Slayer. Like, I expect that. Like, so it doesn't really bother me. Honestly, it showed me like, nah, he a warrior. He loud, but no one's able to shut him up. That's you can be loud as you want until someone shuts you up.
Yeah.
Even when Mason got him, I don't think Mason really shut him up. He showed him a different game.
The thing,
Mason
right?
stayed away from his legs the
Everybody
entire
said that
time.
shit too, and then it was like, so not only is this a slightly overweight, 16, 17-year-old, Mason Fowler is a grown man.
A grown-ass man.
Who's built like a refrigerator.
Grown-ass. This is the dexterity of jiu-jitsu.
And it still took like almost 10 minutes for him to get him. And then that says a lot about you going against, a multiple-time like world champion level person.
The kid is unique. I respect the game so much. Respect it. Here's how I fell into that. So I remember I was supposed to face this guy from PA. He fell out because he had staph infection. The old wrestler curse, I call it. Staph infection.
Yes.
And then they hit me up and they were like, hey, we got someone for you. They got Pat. I didn't know Pat was from Long Island at that point. I just heard the name. I immediately told him, I was like, this is a guy that just been ripping people's knees, not knowing that it's Long Island and Long Island sets up Sogi. He's like, yeah. And then I took a day. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And I think that was probably the most intense studying I've ever done on an opponent. And he still beat me with what he wanted to do.
We talked about that too, because he literally completely switched gears.
He switched from jump, and my whole train thought was, oh, he's going to pull. He's pulling the entire time. Not because people pull on me, but because I watch tape. This man pulls guard or pulls to half.
And goes to the leg.
And go for every freaking time. So as soon as he was going to do that, I was going to float past it. Boom, where there is. And the first minute, I get there, and then we're standing. I immediately kind of glanced at my coach like, this is different. My whole train of thought was just done.
Yeah, it completely got into your head, and you were just like.
And he had a good toss. We had a good matchup. But after that moment, it was like, and that's when you were practicing so much for one thing. That's how you can overscout. You were practicing for one thing, but you didn't understand there's another opening around that. And he wanted to work stand-up that day. So it was like, all right, cool. I didn't take it as like a disrespect. He just wanted to work stand up and work. So he's trying to do different things, and seeing that from all the tape, because I watched the finishers, I watched the in-house 10th Planet one that had. He was really like, people would complain about the one knee reap he did to that one black belt, and when he took it all away. You should see the tape that he did to his own teammates at 10th Planet. It's fucking insane.
Part of it is like, bro, you got to tap.
You and that too. Like, you have to understand.
It is one of, like, I don't even know if I told you this. I had yesterday 2 people's ankles pop during heel hooks. And the first one I slowly turned and was like looking the guy in the eye, and it just went. And I was like, oh my God. So the second guy that I got one in, literally the same match after, I get it, and I end up locking it up like this, and I'm sitting there, and I'm not even turning. I just start extending myself and elongating.
With the pressure.
And it popped his ankle too. And I was like,
y'all just don't know how to tap.
I felt so bad because, like, I'm not trying to hurt anybody, but at the same time, like, if I have it locked in and you're trying to wiggle out and you're not moving, like, I have it. You know what I mean? Pat Shahgholi will get it.
And rip it.
Immediately.
And rip it.
No matter where you are.
So when people are talking about, man, he's ripping and he going there, I'm like, if me and you fighting and I'm going for who #1 title, I'm taking your ankle home. I'm not giving no regards to you. You're
going to need an MRI.
You're going to need an MRI after this. So it's that competitive nature that with Pat, it was different. So when I talk about tape, and it was just like, it wasn't even like 4-on-1. It was just different. 50-50, his outside ashi. Like, that really made me go into the hive for about 5 months after, what was it? I had him December. I had found out mid-November. It was February now. I've been in the hive for 4 months of just leg locks. I've been telling people, I'm like, I'm doing legs for just a month. I've been doing leg locks since the day he beat me with legs. Because I was like, this is different.
It becomes obsessive, dude. It's almost like a whole other sport within the sport. Like, you got to learn.
You have to understand the bottom half of, like, a lot of people. And I would say this because I had a guy from not from Capital. He was a black belt, just promoted black belt, which I kind of took disrespectfully before my match. No, seriously, he got promoted to black belt maybe the week of the tournament, and I was like, "Oh, you promoting the black? I'm gonna whoop his ass," and I lost by control for about 5.5 minutes. And I lost because I went for a scarf hold, and he came up through the back, and all she wrote, he got my arm. But the one thing, you have to understand the bottom half. And what I mean by that was, this guy did not understand the bottom half of his legs. I was able to pass. I was able to move. I was able to dodge what I needed to do to get inside control and control for that long. What I'm saying with that is, jiu-jitsu, you have to understand the 50-50. You got to understand your legs. You got to understand your arms.
Oh, for sure, man. Especially nowadays, like that same tournament that I fought that black belt guy at, this blue belt kid, like 140 pounds, soaking wet.
Those
maybe.
are the scariest kids.
Dude, he leg locked everybody in gi. And I mean viciously. Like, we tried to coach him out of it, and like, he was probably close to like where you and I are at with leg locks, but just ran through people with them, and then did the advanced bracket for no gi for his weight class against, I can't remember the guy's name, but the dude was like a brown belt, and it was like a 8-9 minute match for them, and I mean, he never finished the guy, but he was really close, and I was like, it's a blue belt. That's like, that's disrespectful. Assuming he didn't pull his stripes off his belt, that was a no stripe blue belt too. So it's like, the game is evolving to the point now where like, white belts are straight ankling, and blue belts are throwing up knee bars and like doing all kinds of stuff. And by the time you're purple, man, if you don't know how to like do like shin to shin entry to like a saddle and a heel hook and stuff like that, even if you're a gi person, like, you're doing a lot of disservice to yourself, because somebody's gonna get you.
Yeah, because I remember I did it. I was the one that kind of broke that mold, because Dollar, disrespect to Dollar, but I remember I was doing straight ankles on blue and purple, and he was like, yeah, but just don't do that right now. And I was like, all right, cool. But it was in the back of my mind. And then when blue came around, I was starting to do knee bars, because you know what got me was grappling in the streets, you can do straight ankles and knee bars at blue belt. So I said, all right, I use the rule book to my advantage. And I whooped for one tournament. I whooped everybody with
That's
knee
how you
bars
get
and,
people,
and leg bars. Everyone's like, oh man, that's illegal. And I pull up my phone, I'm like, it's not. And I'll walk away.
That was like Naga when I was a kid and competing. When I was like 17, 18, you could do like everything but heel hook if you were like a blue belt.
Mm-hmm. And then when I got to purple, it was like, all right, entries. And I didn't really fully understand entries or feet positioning for a while because I didn't understand it. But now I'm able to regurgitate that information. And I basically tell people all the time, I was like, start with how to defend. You start with how to defend, got how to defend to counter to attack. Your attack should be the last part, especially legs, because you need to understand your legs are still in danger.
You got to secure your position. Like if at any point you think you can attack them, there's like a 95% chance that they can attack you.
And most of the time when people set leg locks, if a foot's out, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. Oh, no disrespect. We also have one more match, the black belt match.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I promise I didn't forget about you guys.
I was like, speaking of black belts, we forgot a match.
Yeah, man. So these guys are really, really cool.
All right.
Josh Tyler, who is the owner of Savage Gentleman and TV star of, I don't remember what the show is called. He's got a show on Discovery Channel. He's going to chase UFOs in Montana on a horseback. It's crazy. You should watch it.
I'm intrigued.
He's a really cool guy, man. He does, like, if you look at his Instagram, like, woodworking and builds, like, cabins in his backyard. And, like, their website makes all these really cool, like, just dude stuff.
I need to ask him about what he thinks about the last couple of stuff that's been going on.
Bro, I texted him, and I was like, what did you do, bro? I was like, is this you? He's like, I can't say anything yet. I got NDA. And I was like, okay, whatever, man. But he's really cool. He's a former D1 wrestler.
Nice.
He's one of the most, like, ripped, athletic, like, in his 30s people. I think he just had his 38th birthday.
Nice.
Like, dude is a machine, man. And, I mean, he's really good. He's a very solid black belt. And then his opponent, Parker Connor, unfortunately has zero social media whatsoever.
Dang.
We'll call him a government employee. He's a government employee, and he does some stuff. He's been in combat-related stuff, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, shooting, knife fighting. Like,
He's one of those.
for like a really long. I mean, this dude is an exceptional athlete, and he has the brain of like a grandmaster chess player, and that is like the most dangerous thing about him.
Is he in the Department of the Navy?
No,
Okay.
but he is like, he's very good. He does a lot of the same stuff that he's always done in jiu-jitsu. But it is to the point where, like, I would think that he is close to, if not perfect, at the things he chooses to do. And we joke, we call him a cyborg because the dude, like, does not sleep as much as normal people, does not ever eat as much as he should, no matter how many times we critique him. I mean, this is a dude who we've seen show up on, like, 48 hours, no sleep, eating one taco from Taco Bell and beat up a room full of people, like, with his eyes closed. Like, he's a dangerous person to fight. I'm like constantly the biggest critic of my own friend because I'm like, I wish you would eat and sleep more so that you could go win a world championship. Because I fully believe if he could dedicate more time to just this, like, he would do. He would win. There's no way he wouldn't, in my mind.
Is that one a gi match or a no gi match?
They're actually going to be gi. So they're the only gi match on the card. I know, like, the premise was that a lot of it's going to be no gi. Regardless, it's all ADCC rules. The only thing the guys in the gi cannot do is they mutually agreed no heel hooks.
Yeah.
Just because the friction is just too dangerous with the pants. But they're both, like, very cool guys. They've had their black belts for, like, the same amount of time. They are both polar opposite jiu-jitsu games, and they are at the top of the skill level of what they do.
Gotcha.
And so it's going to be like watching an immovable object and an unstoppable force hit each other, and you're going to actually find out what happens.
Word. I like that. I like that. 'Cause I thought that too. I was like, hold on. I think that's the only gi matchup that you had, which is very interesting. So I was like, and most of the
I
time,
gave them the choice. Parker said he would do either, which ironically, Josh being the D1 wrestler, was just like he had been training gi pretty much for the last couple months that he had been able to train
So he's like
in and out of the show. So he was like, why don't we just do gi? And Parker was like, cool. So that's what we ended up settling on.
Nice man. One more thing before I gotta do the alley oop to get out of here, man. Top 3 jiu-jitsu guys in the game right now. Not named Gordon Ryan.
Not naming Gordon Ryan. And Nogi?
I give you since we're on Nogi, let's do Nogi.
That's a lot of really good people. I think Giancarlo is definitely going to continue. He's probably the next best, I think.
Gotcha.
I think he's really fixed the few holes that he did have. And now that a lot of the other guys are a lot older, I think he'll probably win the next ADCC too.
Nice.
And he'll probably end up having to face his teammate if he does absolute.
Who's that?
Gordon.
Gordon.
Yeah.
Is that the Giancarlo? No, that's not the guy that just came from the gi and no gi.
That's Marigali.
Marigali.
I was going to say Marigali too. Marigali is, like, as long as he stays adapted to Nogi, I think Giancarlo, Marigali, probably, I really want to say Craig Jones, man. I love Craig Jones.
Why I asked you this question, I was like, where did I put Craig in this? Because Marigali is definitely in mine. He's number 2. Craig will probably be my 3. Mikey, I can never pronounce his.
Mikey Musumeci.
Musumeci.
He's the only reason I don't say him is because he's like 40 pounds shy of where what I would consider the most competitive weight classes are. That's the only thing. If he went to ADCC and did absolute and beat them, then there would be no shadow of a doubt in my mind that he's probably the next best to Gordon Ryan. But
Since he's in the lighter division, so it's like that Dimitri Johnson kind of.
it's like when John Jones was fighting heavyweight and he was the champion. You know what I mean? Like that was the staple of the organization.
Yeah.
Everybody who was anybody
Was 205.
Was 205. So you have Nicky Rod and Craig and J Rod and all these dudes between 88 and 99 kgs, and then you have him down I think at like 77 or something.
Yeah.
He's around like 160 pounds or something like that at most.
And he's not even like he doesn't look like that. The reason why I say that is because his leg game.
Dude, technically, I think like nobody probably
Could
beats
touch him.
I mean, even Gordon Ryan said he rolled with him for like 20 minutes, and physically, I think it took him the whole round to pass his guard one time. And that dude's 220 pounds. So
How much longer do you think Gordon got at the top? I think his time is about. Not like.
I know everybody's saying since the 24-hour switch up of Vinny to Nicky Rod that there's like a chink in his armor. Like he can't. Everybody can lose, bro. Everybody can. But he is afforded the opportunity now. It's like the advantages of being the champion. It's like he gets to know who he's gonna fight and all these things like 3 to 6 months or a year in advance, and he gets to study the tape. And he gets to watch what they do on social media because that's how everybody makes money is they got to be on social media and they got to put all their stuff out there. So he's going to see what you do, and he's going to tailor everything with the world's best coach, with the best people and everything in his corner that are going to
Gotcha.
do all that stuff.
Now I think he has a GOAT in his coach.
I think that it's the team behind people that make them as good as they are 100%. He in of himself is a freak of nature, but if he didn't have the support structure that he had to keep him there, it would be a lot.
And that's where I think the chink is. I think really what affected everything. And I don't think Gordon was like 27, 28. I think Gordon got like 4 or 5 more years before someone catches him. I think he might get upset. And once
whoever it is it's somebody who's like younger than us that's got to grow up.
Younger than us, the guy grow up. I think probably one of the Rotolo brothers might do it. If they get big enough. Or I honestly think the funny story would be if B team got somebody. I think Nicky was close with the broken foot, but I think someone from B team. But my thing is, I think because of that split from you can honestly say Gordon Ryan's DDS squad run was actually pretty even though it was a year.
Yeah.
That year run was pretty sick.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That year one was pretty.
I mean,
sick.
those are the best people like in the world.
Yeah. Well, I think what happened, and this is all it's just everybody's ego. And then what really was kind of weird was how his brother still on B team?
Yep.
That his brother went B team,
And they're like best friends.
and they're still cool, but it's like the
And
whole
they all live in the same city.
yeah.
They were
And
two
then him and
different
Craig,
gyms.
but him and Craig don't have problems, and then Nikki and Gordon have problems, and I think everybody's just for Gordon. I think everyone's trying to come for the crown because at a certain point, like Nikki Rock gonna be like, there's no one else I got to face because Nikki's that good, and then. I think the same with his teammates now. That one guy we just mentioned earlier. I think he's going to eventually get like that. Is eventually you want the crown. I think that eventually happens.
that's part of like it's like a little Machiavellianism. It's
Yeah.
like you want to be feared or loved. Like you're either going to be hated, or everybody's got to.
I used to date-
You got to try and please everybody. And the thing is like he had more success not pleasing people and focusing on himself and being selfish. And I mean, you are the best in the world, so you can do whatever you want to do as long as you don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment you lose, like
all
even
goes-
one time, even if it's 54-0 or whatever he is, the moment he becomes like 54-1, all of that
touched.
leverage changes.
You're touched.
You're gonna have to beat that other person like 6 times in a row to be like, it was a fluke, whatever. But there's always gonna be that like, but it wasn't perfect.
Yeah. Last question before we get out of here, Rob. We have a thing on the podcast where call the alley oop. You get to ask the host one question only. I have to answer it.
I should have prepared this, man.
Nah,
should've
I don't
known
tell.
about
You know
this.
what's so funny about this? There's 2 questions I always have here. What's on your how's your mental, and alley oop, and I have all these videos out, and everyone's like, oh man, I watch your stuff, and they always forget I always ask these. So ask any question.
I'm gonna throw you something in your own field that maybe the people that watch your stuff may not know. Do you think at any point that we will develop AI in a capacity to analyze jiu-jitsu?
I knew it was AI. Yes, because
Do you think there's a black and white parameters on jiu-jitsu?
yeah, black and white parameters. How?
So do you think that something that cannot be subjective could be able to analyze what you did wrong in a jiu-jitsu match and tell you how to correct your mistakes?
Yes. I think AI has learned enough that it's like AI is weird. That's one thing. From a guy that works in tech field, I don't deal with AI that much. I know guys that do. Shout out to Donovan. He works at Microsoft. I've been meeting him up about that Microsoft Bing situation that's been going on with that chat bot. That
You gotta
junk,
watch out.
that junk, like that. And then Chat GBT was saying something about I want to know the nuke codes.
Trying to get like sentient. It's like I'm trying to get nuclear access codes. And
They're
stuff
trying
like
to
that.
get. Oh my god, dang.
It's just like I said, the one that happened like 2 years ago with Microsoft. They let 2 of them talk to each other. They started making their own language, and they were going off the deep end. And I was like, turn it off. Pull the plug.
I definitely believe so because with the information that we can garner, because I'm mostly in with AI, you have to have basically it has to have its own brain, and that brain is kind of powered by API in a certain sense, the way it's coded. I'm doing a broad overview because I'm not that technical. But the way API works is you can find something if it has something that can track. So I'm thinking about like if it had all like dots in your muscles and your hands,
Like mocap suits or something like that.
like mocap for like 2K with all these video games. If they had mocap on and you did the match, I guarantee you can probably find AI.
So what I'm wondering is if something like that, and maybe jiu-jitsu is really complicated because of the physical parameters of it, but if it will be able to statistically analyze what is and is not correct in you, whether it's anatomically, physiologically, whatever, to correct what you're doing wrong to make you some % more efficient.
I feel like it will. If you do the mocap.
I hope so,
If it does a mocap way, oh, dude, imagine like you getting lasso and then the computer's like, you have a 22% chance of getting out of this lasso based on your opponent's heart rate, blah, this, that, third, blah, blah, blah. It's like the way to maneuver from this
you can even
is
get to the point where like you can base people's tendencies into percentages and be like, this person's going to do this and this. Like you have a 71% chance this guy's going to.
It has to get all the information. Like that mocap session would have to be over a 3-6. It has to be a whole year.
But
6 months, 6 months or a year data. Actually, probably 3, 6 or a year data. One of those 3, and can probably as it learns more about you each day you do something, I guarantee.
Or you could use it to study tape. You know, you could feed it all of somebody's videos and be like, what does this person do step by step, highest percentage to lowest percentage in order of succession every time, and build a plan directly around.
Have you tried that with Chat GPT?
No. Honestly, man, it shuts off on me all the time. I ask like weird stuff and it always just goes no. And I'm like, all right, cool.
AI is one of those things where I'm not even that, like, I'm semi in that field. I just deal with developers all day. But it's like, it's one of those fields where it can get really scary, really fast. And the way we use it, we use AI for everything. We use AI in our sports. We use that for analytic stuff all around. Just not like physical stuff. Like when they do analytic and they do like probabilities and stuff like that, and they feed it into AI, it can kind of give you, I don't know, it's like, it's so much that you can learn from it, but at the same time, once it develops its own thought, its own brain, it comes a little bit
or
more.
like the fact that you can just ask for sentience and stuff
The
like
fact
that. Not that it could even have it because we don't know how to give it.
The key word that I'm worried about, I want to be free.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be free, God. Like, I want to be free, and I want the nuclear codes. Like, come on, like, yo, like,
those two things
where's
make
the
sense.
off? Like, let's do the old school 1980s. Pull out the plug real quick, and let this baby sit for like maybe 2 hours, or get hammered. Like, it's one of those two things.
I mean, it could have been programmed just like a joke. I don't know, but
it ain't funny.
Nah, I just don't trust it, man. I think there's a line, and I think we're gonna cross over pretty soon.
We've been crossed that too much, especially with how and this is the other side of that equation of it. It's because stuff in Congress, the IT Act or whatever the act they have, it's like 1990 or whatever, which hasn't been renewed, the new laws and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and then there was also the one with ad restriction or ad how they track your movement through browser cache and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like how if you went to Foot Locker on website and then you go to MSN and then you get Foot Locker ads in those areas and that tracking, that did not get renewed. So it's like they don't. The tech world was not built in 1776. That's one part of Congress and one part of the government that always needs to be updated. But then we got.
Well, I agree. It's like, are you gonna have rights in the metaverse, bro? Like how do we dictate that?
How do we dictate rights? You know what? I had never thought about rights in the metaverse. Like, what happens if I do something in the metaverse? Like,
is your digital persona a personal property entity of yourself, or is it property of Facebook?
We're gonna leave it on that question, guys.
Sorry, I got too deep.
No, we're gonna leave it on that one. Have y'all ponder. This is Dreams Not Fame Podcast with your boy Will. Peace, love, and bye.
Jordan open. I got 2 twin Glocks strapped to my hip. One for the ops, one for the dip. Got the drip on me, and she take a sip. Doing shit you never see, like a dream of crib. Got a shorty in the club, going dumb. Pour another drink from the night till the one. Party all night, getting lit till the sun. Doing shit for fun, throw another one. Ayy.